like to make a comment based on what just took place in Orlando. In fact, I just left Florida myself, but this nightclub filled with homosexuals, it's only going to get worse. Muslims, by and large, do not agree with homosexuality, and we know Muslims are going to take over the world. We know that the curse that goes out over all the earth is Allah. And this nightclub massacre is just a warning. And I don't think it's a warning from Islam. I think it's a warning from God, because God's allowing this. Why is he allowing this? Well, the same reason he rained brimstone and fire down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. I remember Henry Groover asked God one time, he said, he asked God to burn down a certain homosexual bar or something, and the Lord said, see that bar? Henry said, yeah. He says, see those bars over there? Yeah. He says, they're all going to burn at the same time. In other words, what God was telling Henry was, be patient. The fire's coming, just like it did in the days of old. God will destroy that which is vile. He will separate the vile from the precious. That's what he's doing right now. That which is precious, the Lord's going to gather into his storehouse. That which is vile will be burned with fire. So this nightclub massacre, you think about it. They can't spend the taxpayers' money going after the murderer because he was killed. Think about it. But all those that were killed and all those that were wounded in this massacre, nothing comparing to the dream that God gave me, were young, just young, teenage Muslims in a school setting, just cutting off Americans' heads, parents and teachers, and smiling, big, smiles on their faces while blood is everywhere. And they're just having themselves a time, like they're having a party. It's a celebration, like a feeding frenzy or like a bloodlust. That's what's coming to America, a bloodlust. And I'll tell you right now, Islam is not just isolated to ISIS as far as those that are violent, those that are terrorists. No. We've got terrorists right in Hollywood that are actors, actresses. Because when you call yourself a Muslim knowing what the Quran says, you're just as guilty as the Muslims that are doing the acts. Absolutely. How can you call yourself a Muslim and know what the Quran says or the Quran? Well, how can you call yourself a Muslim? Have you ever read the Quran? Have you ever read their quote-unquote holy book? What it says that they're supposed to do to a Christian? What they're supposed to do to a Jew? Obviously, you haven't read the Quran. Jim Carrey, you haven't read the Quran. Liam Neeson, if you fell in love with their buildings. And the spirit of Islam got into you, which is nothing much more than the spirit of the devil. You know what we need in this hour? We need a whole lot less cowards. And we need some courageous, strong, powerful men of God that are not afraid to tell the truth, not afraid to take a stand, not afraid to stand against the wiles of the devil. We're not fighting with flesh and blood here, folks. There's an agenda behind this. Satan has an agenda, and that is to corrupt, pervert the right ways of God. So just remember, what just took place in Orlando, nothing comparing to what's coming. Nothing comparing to what's coming. And there's going to be so much turmoil going on inside the United States from one corner to the next that they're going to have to call in the United Nations. It's going to get so bad. And this is what they've been planning all along. They want to start martial law to bring in their new world order. So now you have the person that did, now you have the shooters dead, right? So they're not going to spend the taxpayers' money going after the shooter. You won't find it in the news or in the media. They're trying to track down the shooter because he's dead. But they're going to make, are they going to make a big show out of this? Are they going to take this to the nth? Oh, yes, they will. The media will blow this thing up like you could never imagine and give more rights to the homosexual community. You haven't seen anything yet. You think they have rights now. You just watch how many rights they have now after this. Special protection. Mark my words. No good thing is going to come out of this.